you bestowed on our lives. From last week's meeting throughout this week, Heavenly Father, you blessed us. You showed us your grace and mercy. You've taken care of us, our families, and our homes. Lord, we thank you for this commissioner, the commissions, and Lord, we thank you for our staff and the government we serve. And Lord, we ask a special blessing upon those that are unfortunate and less fortunate we are. In all these blessings we ask in your name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
On the next note, we have the approval of the March 13th minutes. As the commission has reviewed it, would like to make any comments? Mr. Doherty.
I move to approve the minutes as presented.
Commissioner Randolph. I have a motion to approve by Commissioner Doherty and a second by Mr. Randolph. Please vote.
Motion carries.
On the next item, we're going to go ahead and move up a case. We request to have move up a case of old business first. And that case will be the Goodby Square Phase 1, Ward 1, District 3, developer owner Lonesome Development LLC, Parish Council District Representative, the Honorable James Thomas. I need to have a motion to move that one up. Ms. Casabon. Commissioner Fitzmaurice.
A second.
I have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Motion carries.
On that note, let's go to the old business. Goodby Square Phase 1, Ward 1, District 3, developer owner Lonesome Development, and of course, James Thompson. Staff, any comments?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. You recall last month at the March 13th meeting, at my request, you tabled this case. We had a large crowd here with some concerns about some drainage issues in Countryside subdivision, which is immediately adjacent to Goodby Square. In having discussions with the residents during your meeting, I determined that it looked like we had a number of issues unrelated to the item on the agenda, and so I asked that you table it so we could work it, see if we can come to some resolution on those issues. And I'd like to give you a quick report on what we're doing relative to those issues and then address the no-net fill issue. The first item is we did a review of the drainage patterns in the area, included a meeting with the Countryside HOA leadership. And what it appears is that there were a number of issues, some issues near Countryside caused by Goodby Square, and other issues that were exclusive to Countryside, drainage issues with Countryside, and I'll go through those. There were drainage structures designed to move stormwater through Goodby Square, and those drainage structures weren't working as intended. The developer, Mr. Henning, agreed to make corrections to that. They have made corrections to that. Last that I heard, they had one grate they were waiting on. It had to be fabricated, but the majority of the work was done. 2 site visits during the rains over the last month showed that the area along the power line is draining more back to a natural flow where there is some ponding, but not near that it was before those changes were made. There's also a natural low area on the south end of Countryside subdivision that may have been holding additional water due to those drainage structures not working as intended. That has also drained more and gone more to the natural state of holding water. Today, after a few days of dry, it may still be holding some water, but that's the way it's always been. That land is very flat, has natural ponding on it. The other drainage issues within Countryside were maintenance outfall related and had no link to Goodby Square. The staff met with the Homeowners Association leadership, Councilman Thompson, and representatives of Public Works. We identified some maintenance problems that we will conduct as soon as we have access to the property. Some of the problem is physical access to the property and getting the proper servitudes over adjacent property. Some of the issues are the fact that it's just been wet. And if we put equipment into that area, we will damage the property, we will damage the equipment. Homeowners Association understands that, and so we're waiting for dry weather, basically, so we can get in there and trying to dry some of the property out. Also, prior to your meeting and the tabling, DPW had already been out there and removed a snag, which they at first thought was a beaver dam. It was that intense, off of one outfall on the northern end, and that immediately provided relief to the northern end ponds. There is an outfall issue on the southern half of the property where there is an outfall moving towards 1077 that does not reach 1077. It actually flows into the East Beatico Creek. East Beatico Creek at that point is a scenic stream, and we can't do work to it. So we're trying to secure servitudes across that property, which is another property owner, so that we can then move that water through the outfall to the 1077 ditch. Now finally, to the actual question of no-debt fill that you're looking at today. This project has spanned 6 years with multiple owners, multiple engineers, multiple staff members. Despite good faith efforts of all parties in searching for solutions to this specific question since October of 2017, an administrative remedy has eluded us. The purpose of the no-net fill ordinance is to assure the cumulative impact of development over time does not result in a significant increase in water surface elevations, resulting in the flooding of property that had never had that flooding before. The location of this property at the top of the Beatico Creek Basin, the volume of this specific shortfall, 2,430 cubic yards in a basin of almost 20 square miles, relative to the total volume of that basin, and the extensive work that's been done to assure the drainage patterns in the area account for all of the stormwater within the designed parameters of St.Tammany Parish, all suggests that relief in this specific case is appropriate. Should be noted the staff is committed to establishing procedures and processes as necessary to prevent an incident like this from occurring again. When we have changeovers in engineers, staff, we need to make sure that no information is lost in that process, and thereby assuring the intent of the no-net fill ordinance to protect the drainage basin of St. Tammany Parish is upheld. And with that, we have no objection to the relief requested by the applicant relative to number 8 on the conditions.
Thank you, Mr. Fontenot. Okay, do we have a representative from the LLC?
Good evening, Mr. Davis and Commission. Jeff Shane of the, thank you. Jeff Shane of the Jones Fussell Law Firm, P.O. Box 1810 in Covington, and I represent the owner and developer of Goodby Square, which is Lonesome Development LLC. I have no substantive comments to add until and unless we, in fact, the Commission engages into an active discussion of the problem and solution that Mr. Fontenot has just described. I would like to say that we appreciate the efforts of staff, particularly over the last 30 days, Mr. Fontenot in particular, for conducting meetings, taking input, being in the field, measuring, problems and suggesting solutions, all of which I think have been beneficial, not just to my client, but to Countryside as well. So I would conclude, as I did last time, by saying my client in Goodby Square wants to be and will be good neighbors to Countryside, and we believe that the sky is blue and the future's in front of us. So we would appreciate, I think technically this would be considered a waiver item that would require a 2/3 vote of the Commission this evening as it relates to Condition 8 of the final subdivision approval that was granted in July of 2017. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Shane. Do we have anybody in the public that would like to speak for this? Do we have anybody in the public that would like to speak against it? If not, I'll bring it back to the Commission. Ms. Casabon.
Yes, I commend all the parties that worked on this. that we could actually stop something, look at it, figure out what's going on, and, where the problems were coming from. And I think this has been done and taken care of quite nicely. I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Ms.
With the
Casabon.
Is it a waiver?
With the waiver.
With the waiver.
Commissioner Willie.
Second to that motion, thanks.
I have a motion by Mr. Casabon and a second by Commissioner Willie. Any further comments? Please vote.
Motion carries with waiver.
Okay, back to our entering parish rights-of-way servitudes and easements.
Thank you.
We have entering parish right-of-way, 2nd Street, Edna, and Ruby Streets, Ward 3, District 2. The request is for the purpose of laying connecting water and sewage mains. GS Acula LLC and the Parish Council District Representative is Honorable David Fitzgerald. Staff?
Yes, this is to enter the parish right-of-way, specifically the portion of North 2nd Street, Edna Street, Ruby Street, located within Maleyville subdivision for the purpose of laying and connecting water and sewer force main.
Okay. Jeff?
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Paul Marone on behalf of
Paul,
the
sorry.
the petitioner. That's okay. I'll answer to most anything. This request, as Mr. Watson just noted, is to enter these rights of way for the purpose of extending sewer and water service. My client's property is actually within the city of Covington, but it does not have contiguity with the city of Covington. So to get the city's sewer and water services to us, we have to extend them through the parish rights of way. So your approval this evening will allow us to do that. We will certainly comply with all of the provisions set forth in the regulations, set forth in the resolution, and we would respectfully request your approval this evening.
Thank you. Do we have any input from the public? Either for or against? I'll bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Willie.
Yes, everything seems in order. I'll move for approval.
Commissioner Lauren. We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Willie and a second by Mr. Lauren. Please vote.
Motion carries.
Mr. Morone? You have some other cases that you would like to have addressed now because you have to leave to go somewhere. Can you tell me what cases those are?
Jeff.
The postponement?
That'd be a Jeff.
Jeff.
Mr. Shane.
What's that?
Mr. Shane.
Jeff.
Oh,
not
I'm
mine.
sorry. Here we go again. I'm sorry.
Well,
Sit down,
If you'd
Paul.
like to
I'm
move
sorry.
my cases up, that would be great, but I
I'd
don't
like to
really have
move-
anything going on this
I'd
week.
actually like to
so-
move them all up. But anyway,
Mr. Davis, I would just suggest that we take care of all the postponements because there are more than just one person who's requesting.
would you go ahead and cite all the
Yes.
postponements for tonight?
Yes, so there are three that I'm aware of on page 2, under minor subdivisions, 218-986-MSP. The petitioner is requesting postponement. Also on the same page, under tentative subdivision review, Lone Oak Park, petitioner developer requesting postponement. And then under preliminary subdivision review, the first case, Lakeshore Village, Phase 3, a developer requesting postponement.
So all three of those?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you said under the minor subdivision, was that 218-986?
Yes, sir.
Let's read these for the court or for the public. 218-986 MSP, I guess we'll have to make a motion to move these up. So do I have commissioners to move up these cases? 218-986 MSP, a combined 16.301 acre parcel in the G1, G2, G3, M1, Ward 8, District C6. Owner is Mark and Glenn Holly. Surveyor is J.V. Burks. Parish Council Representative, Mr. Tanner. Commissioner Casabon.
Just to make a correction, your agenda item was the older agenda, and we made a correction to the agenda. It's actually District 9, Mr. Belisario's district.
For 986.
For 986, the minor subdivision, yes, ma'am.
Yes, I'll make a motion. Is there anyone here to hear this or to speak on this? Mr. Chairman, anyone here to speak on it before I make a motion?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Matthew Crane with the Jones Fussell Law Firm, P.O. Box 1810, Covington 70434. We represent Mark and Glenn Howley, and I've spoken to Councilman Belisario, and he's asked that we postpone this matter for 1 month to further investigate certain items. So we would respectfully request that it be tabled until the May 8th meeting.
Is there anybody in the public that would like to offer some input on postponement, whether they want to agree with it or disagree? If not, I'll bring it back to the commission.
I'll make a motion to postpone till May 1st meeting.
Commissioner Willie? Okay, so there's a motion by Commissioner Casabon to postpone to May 8th, and a second by Commissioner Willie for May 8th. Please vote.
Motion carries.
I need a motion to move up Lone Oak Park Phase 2, 2017, 839 TP, Ward 8, District 14, the developer Mark Grimaldi, engineer J.V. Burks, Parish Council District, the Honorable T.J. Smith. Commissioner Willie.
Motion to move up.
Commissioner Randolph. I have a motion by Commissioner Willie to move up, and a second by Mr. Randolph. Please vote. Can I get a vote of hands? Who wants to move it up, please? All yeas.
Okay. Let's get this back on here then.
Excuse us a second. Case number 2017-839 TP, Lone Oak Park Phase 2, Ward 8, District 14. Mark Grimaldi is the owner, J.V. Burks, and the council district, again, is T.J. Smith's. Do we have anybody from the developer to discuss the reason for postponement?
Good evening, Mr. Chair. We had requested last month that this case be postponed until your May meeting. I think it's likely that we will need to postpone it until June. I think it's better to tell you that now as opposed to come back next month. There's a reason that I don't think anyone is here in the audience in that we're communicating the delays. So no one has an expectation that the case would be heard tonight, certainly, or in May. So I think at this point, if you would postpone it until May, that's fine. We'd like to come back May 8 and hope to be ready. But we still have things to do, and it's not things that are totally within our control.
So you request the postponement till June?
Till May 8.
Oh, you will
But
request it till May.
I give you a heads up that
Right.
we may need until June.
And Jeff, correct me if I'm incorrect, this is like the 5th postponement for this one case?
I would say it started in January, I believe, so this is likely the 4th, and we owe a community meeting a second community meeting to the residents before we come back to you. But we're still working with DEQ and some other matters that, again, that's the problem. It's not a matter of lack of effort on our part.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody in the public want to vote for this postponement? Anybody in the public want to talk against this postponement? With none being said, I bring it back to the commissioner. Commissioner Randolph. Commissioner Randolph makes a motion to postpone. Commissioner Casabon.
I'll second that motion.
Commissioner Casabon seconds that. Any more, further information? Sorry, Mr. Darty.
Motion carries.
The motion for postpone has been granted. Case number 2018-990 PP Dove Park, I'm sorry,
922.
that's not right. Case number 218-922 PP Lakeshore Villages Phase 3, Ward 9, District 13 is requesting a postponement till the May meeting. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Can we have somebody from the developer discuss that, Mr. Shane?
Yes, sir. Essentially the same comments. We had forewarned the commission that we would not be ready for preliminary until May. So even though it's on your agenda this evening, we should be prepared to present to you for May 8th.
Thank you. Is there anybody in the audience want to speak for this postponement or against this postponement? If not, I bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Casabon.
Motion to postpone.
Motion to postpone by Commissioner Casabon. Commissioner Darty.
I'll second, that's to the May 8th meeting.
And that's a second by Commissioner Darty. So there's a motion by Commissioner Casabon and a second by Mr. Darty to postpone until the May meeting. Please vote.
Motion carries.
Okay, now we can go back to our regular public hearing notes.
All right, so we're going back to
We should be going back to the
Parish right-of-way,
Parish right-of-way, right?
Lion Street.
Right, East Stadium and Lions Drives, Ward 3, District 3. There's a request to enter the parish right-of-way for constructing sidewalks to be able to be ADA compliant. St.Tammany Parish School Board and the council district representative is the Honorable James Thompson. Do we have somebody from the school board for this? Thank you, sir.
Alex Williams with Deep South Design here representing the school board for this project. Installation of the sidewalks are associated with an ADA audit that was done on the campus and will provide ADA compliant connectivity from the main campus to the athletic facilities, mainly the football field. And
That's it?
That's
Okay.
it.
Thank you. Does anybody in the audience want to talk against this right away or for it? If not, I'll bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Willie.
Yeah, a motion to approve.
Motion approved by Commissioner Willie. Commissioner Lauren.
I'll second it.
Got a second by Commissioner Lauren. Please vote.
Motion carries.
Now we entered minor subdivisions. 2018-963 MSP, Parcel C into Parcel C1 and C2 containing 2.4628 acres, Ward 8, District 8. Owner is Eula and Patricia Geisman. Surveyor is A.V. Burke. And the Parish Council District Representative is Honorable Chris Candulet. Anybody from the Mr. Geisman here?
Would you like us to read the staff report?
Yeah, I'm
Mr.
sorry.
Chairman?
Staff
That's
reports
fine.
first. Sorry.
The reason why the public hearing is required for this case is that parcel C is part of an existing minor subdivision and is being subdivided into two parcels. The owner is proposing to create two parcels from a 2.426 parent parcel, and since the proposed request meets all parish code requirements, the staff has no objections to the minor subdivision.
Ms. Geisman? You agree with everything the staff says?
Yes, I do.
Okay, is there anybody in the audience who wants to talk against this case or for this case? If not, I'll bring it back to the council, to the commission. Commissioner Darty. It's a motion to approve by Commissioner Darty. Commissioner Randolph. Second. The second, Commissioner Randolph. Any more comments? If not, please vote.
Motion carries.
2018-967 MSP, a combined 20.56 acres into parcels A through D, Ward 2, District 3. Owner is Thomas and Teresa Brule, and the surveyor is Land Surveying LLC. Parish Council District Representative is, again, the Honorable Red Thompson. Staff?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The reason why a public hearing is required for this case is that I'm sorry, let me get the right page here. This is 967, right?
Yes.
Okay. The reason why a public hearing is required, proposed parcel B does not meet the minimum road frontage requirement of 30 feet. The owner is proposing to create 4 parcels from combined acreage parcels. Proposed parcel B does not meet the minimum code relative to the road frontage requirement of 30 feet. And since the staff sees no hardship or practical difficulty on the part of the owner in being able to comply with code by adding an additional 10 feet of lot width along Brule Road, and the fact that the waiver of the regulations for the lot frontage reduction would be required, in our opinion, would set a bad precedent. Therefore, the staff recommends denial of the proposed minor subdivision request, or simply requests or recommends that the 10-foot be added to the parcel in question to comply with code. If the commission decides to approve this request, as is, a waiver of the regulations are required relative to the parcel with issue, and a 2/3 majority vote of the full membership of the commission, 8 members, is needed in order to approve pursuant to Part 2, Chapter 125, Section 125.244, waiver of regulations of the Land Development Code.
Thank you. Is the owner developer, Thomas or Teresa Brule, here? Please come up. State your name.
How you doing, Mr. Davis? I'm Thomas Brule. I live at 16312 Brule Road, Folsom, 70437. Our 3 children are grown, and me and my wife, we want to leave them a little over 5 acres apiece to build their homes on. We're keeping one of the pieces for ourselves, for our house already exists. One of them's planning on building shortly, if we can get this approved. The short right of way, though now, will be built for entry only, for one entry only. It'll have a large turnaround at the end of it. We attempted to increase it to the width, but the survey company price was extremely high to have it surveyed changed. He told us $800 to have it changed, minimum. This is only going to be a family subdivision. There won't be nobody else, just family. We're asking for your favorable vote to allow this to happen. And we'd like for our children to stay in St.Tammany, move in, build houses by us. So they can be lifelong residents like both of us.
Thank you, sir. Is there anybody in the public that would like to say anything positive about this, or anything negative? If not, I'll bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Willie.
Yeah, thanks. I'm real familiar with this parcel, and like Mr. Burrows stated, they've been here forever, and it is family property. And I think that 20-foot right-of-way was originally put in by mistake. It should have been 30, but I think they ended up with 20. But I think because each parcel is over 5 acres and it's a family property and they give it to their children, I move for approval with the waiver.
Have a motion to approve with the waiver. Commissioner Richardson. Second. A second by Commissioner. Please vote.
Motion carries.
Minor subdivision case 218-984 MSP, a combined 34.39 acres into parcels A through E, Ward 2, District 6. Owner is Thomas Galloway. Surveyor is Land Surveying LLC, and it's Parish Council District Representative Honorable Richard Tanner. Staff?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The reason why a public hearing is required for this particular case is the proposed parcels C and D do not meet the minimum street frontage requirement of 300 feet pursuant to the A1 suburban zoning district. The owner is proposing to create a total of 5 parcels from 2 parent parcels totaling 34.39 acres. The owners of the parcels are configuring the same in a way that creates a violation of the minimum lot width requirement of 300 feet for proposed parcels C and D. For that reason, the staff does not support the minor subdivision request. Therefore, if the commission decides to approve this request, a waiver of the regulations are required relative to the parcel width issue, and a 2/3 majority vote of the membership of the commission, 8 members, is required in order to approve. Also, I mean, the applicant will probably explain to you that there are some pre-existing conditions on the property with existing homes, and that also kind of comes into play with this proposal.
Okay, thank you. Will the person Representative Thomas Galloway?
My name is Tommy Galloway, and my father is Thomas Galloway, the owner of the property. My dad inherited this property in 1988, and at that time, the residence that's on parcel B, that home was existing. It was probably built in the 1940s. So that is an existing residence. Parcel D, my father donated parcel D to his granddaughter in 2006, and the home was constructed on that property in 2006. Parcel C was donated to my sister in 2010, and she's had a mobile home on that property for probably 20 years. When parcel D and C were created, my family didn't realize there was that they were creating any type of violation. We were not aware that there were any problems with either one of those lots until I came and met with Ron over the summer. So after meeting with Ron and the legal department, they said that the time period had prescribed for the parish to take any type of action requiring that we come in and correct those 2 lots, but it was suggested that to correct any type of potential problems that might arise with the titles in the future, that we should bring those parcels in with this other minor re-subdivision, because my father's trying to subdivide the property so he can give it to his children, the other remaining parcels, and try to get that corrected if the Planning Commission would grant a waiver in order for us to correct that problem with lots C and D. So, and lot C, I think, has 284 feet of frontage, and lot D has 208 feet of road frontage.
So basically, you had 3 properties on this 5-acre property that were basically grandfathered anyway because of the homes that are on the property currently. So really, parcel A and parcel E are both within the A1 zoning requirements of 5 acres, correct?
Yes, sir.
Well, the main issue is just the lot width for those 2 lots. Actually, collectively, they meet the A1 density requirements.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody in public want to vote for this? Anybody in public want to vote against this? If not, I'll bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Randolph.
Yes, sir. Family property, I'd like to make a motion that we approve this with the waiver related to lots C and D.
Motion to approve with the waiver by Commissioner Randolph. Commissioner Richardson. A second by Commissioner Richardson. Please vote. With the waivers.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Oh, we have a lot of Case number 218-986, a combined 16.301 acre into parcels G1, G2, G3, and M1, Ward 8, District 6. Owner is Mark and Glenn Holly. Survey is J.V. Burks.
That's the one we
Did
postponed.
we do that one
Jimmy.
postponed already? I'm sorry.
Okay, which one are we going
I didn't have that checked off.
to? 989.
Case 2018-989 MSP, a 2.44 acre parcel into parcels A and B, Ward 9, District 13. The owner is Jean and Emily Bernard. Surveyors Land Surveying LLC, Parish Council District Representative Michelle Blanchard. Staff?
Yes, sir. The reason why a public hearing is required is that one of the lots is being accessed by a private drive. The owner is proposing to create two parcels from a 2.44 acre parent parcel. And since only one parcel is being accessed by a private drive, parish road construction standards do not apply. Therefore, since this proposal meets all parish code requirements, the staff recommends approval of the proposed minor subdivision request.
Is there a Mr. or Mr. Bernard here to speak? If not, I'll bring it back to the commission. Commissioner, sorry, is there anybody that wants to speak against this? Please come up and state your name and.
Yes, my name is Russell Harris, and I've been a resident of the Coindaleston subdivision since 1995. We moved there because of the low density and the attractive views, the waterways. We live at 345 Fashawn Lane, directly across from this parcel. And to put another home on that parcel would be, first of all, it would crowd that property because there's a big pond on the property. So there's a limited amount of square footage on the property itself. And it would, I know most of my neighbors who live in the vicinity are opposed to it.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Tom McNulty. I'm here with two hats tonight, as a neighbor to the property and as a board member. And for the sake of brevity, we have our board is here tonight, and we oppose it. I oppose it first as a homeowner. When my wife and I moved into the neighborhood, it's a low-density, laid-back type of neighborhood where everybody has a big tract of land. And the character of it is that in our covenants, you can't subdivide your property. I understand that people may make a purchase that doesn't fit their lifestyle at some point. Mr. Bernard does not live there, but I don't believe that his remedy to recoup his losses should affect the vested homeowners who have lived there for 30 years or less and more in some cases. And I've always opposed things like that where somebody's going to recoup their money and then leave, and then we that support the parish are left to live with whatever happens. Then as a board member, like I said, for the sake of brevity, I'm going to speak on behalf of the board. We oppose it because we don't want to set up a precedent where we have not had subdivisions before of property, where if we do one, we may be opening a door where other people can then make applications and subdivide the property. It would ruin the nature of the community, and his remedy, and he's not going to be living there, should not affect the people who are vested and live there.
Thank you. Does anybody else wants to vote for this minor subdivision report? If not, I'll bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Doherty.
Well, even though staff doesn't see a problem after hearing the folks speak and knowing a little bit more about the property, I was guessing this might have been a family piece of property going to be divided again, but since it's not, the gentleman does not even live on the property, I'll move to deny.
I have a motion to deny by Commissioner Doherty. Commissioner Drum.
I second the motion.
You second that motion to deny? A question on this. The underlying zoning for this area is A2, which allows 1 acre parcels. I just question that to the commissioners because I don't see how it, if it meets code, what's the reason for denial?
May I ask a question of the last gentleman that came up, please?
Sure.
I don't have your name correctly, sir. Is it McNulty?
Tom McNulty, MC,
McNulty.
capital N-U-L-T-Y.
This piece of property, it's within the homeowners association's realm?
As far as I'm, at the end of his deed, it says that he will obey the covenants. The same as my deed says you will obey the
Okay,
covenants.
has he been paying his dues to it?
No. He has not been paying his dues. He doesn't live there. He had rented it out. He lives in New Orleans East, I believe. So he's an absent owner. And again, I can only state that, you know, I just have to disagree with, I understand maybe it doesn't fit his lifestyle right now, but his remedy should not affect the rest of us who we're there for the rest of our lives.
Okay.
So,
Has he ever lived there for any period of time?
no. He would visit on weekends, and that came to a halt. And then he rented it out, and that's another whole story. But
Okay, the residence that's on the ground, how did that get there? He put it there?
no, it was built by Robert Frost probably 30 years ago.
Okay, so it's just a rental property right now?
Well, they were evicted, but yes. It was a problem rental, and right now there's nobody in it. But that's what he was doing, was renting it out. They didn't pay the rent ever, and he had them evicted.
Okay, excuse me, sir, Mr. Chairman?
I'm sorry, what was that?
My reason for seconding is, since the gentleman doesn't live there, and it's a rental property, and nobody's there, and it is a part of a homeowners association, which he has not been paying to, I still go with a denial.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Casabon.
Is the petitioner present? Or anyone representing him?
No,
I didn't
called
see
up-
anybody,
I
so-
called up before and nobody's
Okay,
here.
just to make sure that we recognize that he was not here. And I also concur that we have, the parish has no jurisdiction over homeowners associations, but we still don't want to me, cause them any trouble, you know, by making a motion or letting them divide this. I don't see any compelling reason to.
Okay, the motion is to deny this matter subdivision. Please vote. Oh, sorry. Commissioner Willie.
Yeah, you had mentioned about the A2 zoning that was in place. And because it's 2 acres and by our A2 zoning, he could subdivide into those 2 parcels. Does he have any kind of legal right? I guess I'm asking this to the legal counsel.
Yeah, legal.
That he
counsel
can
says-
do that, even though we're not supposed to recognize the homeowner laws, bylaws. Can we still deny this guy a right to divide his property?
Mr. Willie, constitutionally and statutorily, the planning commission of a parish has great authority when it comes to the development of land within the parish, particularly as it pertains to the subdivision of land. What you've heard tonight, among other things, is that the area in which this parcel is located is an area of larger lots. As you know, our zoning classifications aren't necessarily structured in a way to apply accurately to every size parcel in the parish that may exist. It is basically a guide. So I believe that this commission does have the authority to either approve or disapprove this request, even though the property may strictly adhere to the zoning size requirements of its A2 zoning. I think that if this commission finds that the request is inconsistent with the surrounding area, then it could, in its authority, deny this request. But I think the point is also well taken that if the gentleman is correct that there are restrictive covenants within this subdivision, if you will, it's not the responsibility of the parish to enforce those covenants. It's a responsibility of the subdivision or whoever else may have the authority to enforce those covenants. Just be aware that if you fail to enforce it against one, you may waive your ability to face it, to enforce it against others in the future.
Thank you.
Okay. And also, just to add this, as I'm trying to give you all the facts I have. At some point, I had called a parish office, and I don't think he had enough road frontage. They were out there twice, the surveyors, and he didn't have the 300 feet that was necessary. So,
Thank you.
that's all I have to say. Thank you.
The motion on the floor is to deny the minor subdivision. Please vote.
Motion carries with Mr. Davis voting against it. All right, we're going to 990 Dove Park.
Preliminary subdivision review, 2018-990 PP Dove Park Estates, Ward 4, District 5. Developer owner Dove Park Estates LLC, engineers Definis Design Group, Parish Council District Representative is Honorable Toledano. Staff? You go ahead.
Preliminary plans and hydrologic study have been reviewed by this office, and an inspection of the site was made. Subsequent to the submittal deadline, revised plats, plan sheets, and reports were submitted to this office. Revised plans must sufficiently address all comments before a work order will be issued, and additional comments may arise. At the time that this report was generated, the following comments were noted. General comments: number 1, provide the required traffic impact analysis for the project. Number 2, gravity drainage District 5 approval is required. Number 3, Tammany Utilities approval is required. Number 4, LDH approval is required. Number 5, coastal use permits required. Number 6, grading in the CLECO right-of-way appears to be in direct conflict with the CLECO 120-foot transmission right-of-way guidelines and restrictions submitted with the PUD approval. Provide written and signed verification that CLECO is in agreement with the work being performed. Number 7, verify the proposed tie-in for the sidewalk will not conflict with existing parking lot along Dove Park Road. 8, provide additional details for the sidewalk showing how off-site drainage from the north will be accommodated. On the preliminary plat, number 9, revise the dedication statement to include who will be responsible for maintaining all ponds, drainage easements, signage, and signposts. On the grading and drainage plans, number 10, if the servitude provided between lots 17 and 18 is used as an access servitude, it's required to be 25 feet wide. Number 11, drainage lines are located under the roadway and must be relocated in accordance with the typical street cross-section standards. Number 12, the proposed drainage for lots 54 through 68 cannot clearly be determined from the proposed site elevations and drainage servitudes. Provide a section showing the 10-foot drainage servitude on the west side of lots 54 through 68 and add drainage arrows to clarify the intended drainage design. The subdivision plan must accurately depict the location of any open drainage ditch, drainage canal, drainage channel, or similar drainage feature within the boundaries of the proposed subdivision. Number 13, some of the proposed grades result in drainage being directed towards the center of a lot or in conflict with the hydraulic analysis. For example, see lots 1 through 5 and 54 through 68, review and revise as necessary. Number 14, pond number 4 has a 5-to-1 horizontal to vertical ratio slope for a high point elevation 21 feet around the pond perimeter in the required 10-foot flat surface. This does not meet pond requirements for St. Tammany Parish Ordinance Section 12590A2A, which requires a minimum 15-foot access to the area around the pond. 10 feet must be flat, must be on a flat surface and not within the pond side slope. The elevation of 21 feet is also considered the top of bank elevation in the submitted hydraulic analysis, so 10 foot of the 15 foot of the pond slope, 10 of the 15 required feet is within the pond side slope instead of the allowed 5 feet. Also, the required perimeter access will be inaccessible during a 100-year storm when the pond reaches its maximum storage elevation of 20.85 feet. Street and signage plan, number 15, revised sheet C6.1 to include a no outlet at the entrance of the subdivision. Informational items, a funded maintenance obligation in the amount of $10,000 is required in accordance with subdivision ordinance Part 2, Land Development Code, Chapter 125, Subdivision Regulations, Article 7, Studies, Plans, and Review Procedures, Section 125-201, Maintenance Obligations, Paragraph A, which states funded letters of credit for existing parish roads to ensure the repair of any damage to the roads resulting from the construction in connection with the subdivision. Mandatory developmental fees will be required. Final submittal in accordance with St. Tammany Parish Codes. Part 2, Land Development Code, Chapter 125, Subdivision Regulations, since no public hearing was held prior to January 1st, 2005. The developer is hereby advised that upon application for final subdivision approval, the engineer of record for the development shall certify in writing that all aspects of construction have been completed in accordance with the approved plans and parish ordinances. If any construction activity is proposed that's not in substantial compliance with the approved plans and parish ordinances, the engineer of record for the development shall notify in writing the Department of Development prior to beginning said construction activity. The developer and/or engineer of record shall obtain written approval from the Department of Development prior to beginning any proposed construction activity that is not in substantial compliance with the approved plans and ordinances. Revised drawings will not be accepted prior to the April 10, 2018 meeting to ensure that any additional comments that arise at the meeting can be incorporated into the revised plans.
Thank you. Is there a representative from the Dove Park Estates here? Paul?
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Paul Marone on behalf of Dove Park Estates LLC. You will recall that we appeared before you not too long ago to amend this PUD, to redesign it by and large, to get out of the wetlands and to avoid some of the sensitive areas on this site, like the little creek which kind of runs through and traverses the property. So the plan before you tonight is consistent with that PUD plan. I'd like to walk through some of the staff comments, provide you with some additional information that we have on each of these items. With regards to the traffic impact analysis, our consultant, Ms. Callahan, spoke with Mr. Reynolds in the engineering office today. They had a good discussion, and we believe that the additional items that are needed to complete that TIA will be done within about a week or so, and we can have that submitted. We have the data as far as all of the trip generation numbers. We have confirmation that no off-site improvements are needed, and it's just a matter of working through a few of the other details to get that to Mr. Reynolds for his review, but we do not expect any problems with the outcome of that report. With regards to Gravity Drainage District number 5, we are in contact with them. I believe Mr. Thibodeau will be reviewing the plans on behalf of that district. As soon as we have confirmation, we will follow through with the plans to him, but whoever is going to review them, our engineer who is here this evening will be working directly with them to make sure we address any of their concerns. Tammany Utilities, the plans have been submitted to Todd at Tammany Utilities, and they're in the process of reviewing them. As far as the Louisiana Department of Health and Hospitals, once this meeting is done and once our sewer and water plans have been completed and reviewed by Mr. Watson and a letter from him has been generated, then LDH will receive those plans at that time. With regards to the coastal use permit, we have information from the Louisiana Department of Natural Resources indicating that no permit is needed for this site. While we are within that range because we are south of I-12, we are immediately south of I-12, and based on the information that we have provided them, they have given us an indication that no permit is required. We'll provide that information to your staff. If for some reason a permit is required and there is any error in that, then we understand that we'll have to provide that before a work order can be granted. With regards to CLECO and the grading and work within their right-of-way, I received this afternoon the signed approval letter from CLECO, so that is resolved. With regards to the sidewalk along Dove Park Road, we will provide additional detail to indicate that there is no conflict there. The sidewalk will in fact be within the street right-of-way and won't be within private property, so we do not believe that there will be any conflict, and we'll provide the necessary information to Mr. Watson's office so that they can confirm that. Likewise, with regards to the sidewalk and the drainage, the sidewalk will be at grade, and we will provide a cross-section showing that and thus proving that we won't be impeding or creating any drainage problems with the sidewalk. Item 9, we will make that amendment to the plat as requested. Same with item 10. And with item 11, we will provide the section showing the 10-foot drainage servitude as required, as well as make the modification to indicate the drainage arrows and elevations on the lots in question. We will also comply with 13 as written, and we will make the modifications to the pond design as noted in item 14. And we will correct the signage and drainage plan in 15. You may notice that I skipped item 11, so I'd like to go back to that because that is a little bit of a unique situation and requires a little further explanation. There are several locations where we do have some of the lines that run beneath portions of the roadway. We believe, our engineers believe, that there is good reason to have those lines in that location, and that it really is a benefit to have those lines there rather than revising them. What we would ask this evening of you is simply the opportunity to work with your staff on this issue. We'd like to demonstrate them that having the lines here makes sense, that moving the lines will require more manholes, which is additional maintenance expense going forward. Ultimately, we will comply with whatever your engineers tell us that we have to do. But we would like the opportunity to present them with some additional information for them to consider in this regard. So for clarity purposes, we would ask that, again, that your approval, if you grant it this evening, be subject to staff comments, but again, with the understanding that staff has the opportunity to consider this evidence that we will present to them to see if having the lines in the location makes sense, understanding that ultimately we'll comply with whatever decisions are made as a result of those discussions. Finally, it wasn't mentioned, but there are 3 waivers that have been requested. And these waivers are similar to those which you have heard in the past, and they are really necessitated by and large because of the unique nature of the property, the design that we have. But I'd like to walk through those briefly with you. The first is the lot frontage along the cul-de-sacs. We have requested that, and when we say cul-de-sacs, actually most of them are the sort of half cul-de-sacs that you see there. 60 feet is required. We are asking for a reduction to 45 feet, which we believe gives more than adequate room for ingress and egress in each of those locations. Second, we have 4 parcels where we are seeking relief from the 60-foot distance from the driveway to the corner, which I know you all are well familiar with. These are the lots at our entrance points, and we are requesting a reduction from the 60 to 46 feet. That is the closest distance. There is one that will actually be larger or further than that. If you will look at the plan, you will see that we are limited in the space that we have. We believe that the 46 feet is adequate, more than adequate, to give enough room so that it will be safe, it will not create a safety concern. So we would ask for your consideration on that waiver. And then finally, the distance of the cul-de-sac. As I said before, on our western line, our lots are on a single cul-de-sac. You may recall from the PUD discussions, the reason for that is because that is where the Little Creek comes in. And there really is no way to adequately cross that without creating drainage and environmental concerns that we are bound to avoid. So the distance limitation is 700 feet. We are at about 850 feet, so we're about 150 feet beyond that. But as you see, we have little to no other alternatives in this particular location. Do not believe that it creates a safety concern or otherwise would be a detriment to this development or anybody surrounding us, and we would respectfully request your consideration and approval of that waiver as well. With that said, I'll be happy to answer any questions that any of the commissioners may have, and we appreciate your time this evening.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the public that would like to speak on approving this preliminary subdivision? Any comments against? With that being said, I'll bring it back to the commission. There is no, I got a question for staff first. There is no plat that was in our paperwork for this, and the reason is, of course, the timeline in which the plat could have been submitted, correct?
Jay?
The developer's engineer didn't submit revised, with the revised plans, didn't submit hard copies for distribution.
Commissioner Fitzmaurice.
I had the same question. So Paul, you were referencing, we don't have any plans to look at. So that might be a problem.
Commissioner Lauren?
My only comment is, in addition to the one about not having plats to look at, to visualize some of these things you're talking about, Paul, there's a lot of these items on the list that are very substantive. And I would respectfully request that by the time you get ready to come back for final, that this list be boiled down to eliminate a lot of this stuff. We're talking about not markages for fire hydrants or
Understood.
minor things. We're talking
Right.
about the depths of ponds and whatnot. So my only request is that when you come back for final, you have it a lot more boiled down and you've got it along with plots. The plats.
Understood, and we will have that certainly resolved.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I would also, from a staff standpoint, like Paul to address the first paragraph that discussed the amenities. I don't know if you mentioned those. Could you go ahead and do that?
I didn't.
That's all right, thank you.
I did not. I apologize.
Paul?
Yes, sir. I'm sorry. It wasn't read into the record, and I kind of skipped over it. I apologize. The comment that Mr. Keller is referring to is on the plan. We have a walking path that you may recall from the PUD that we have the sidewalk that goes from the eastern portion of the development and connects into the trace. And Mr. Keller's comment was that there is not a pedestrian connection from the east side into that walking trail, that the sidewalk does not extend from the east side, connecting into the one on the west and getting to the trace. And he is correct about that, and I spoke to my client and our engineer earlier about that issue, and there are a number of reasons that we don't have that connection. One is that the Little Creek crosses there. We would have to cross the Little Creek or that ditch, that area. There are wetlands in that area as well. But what we would propose in lieu of making that connection is that we have a park, if you recall in the PUD, on the west side, on the east side. We would propose to install some parking spaces at that park that would allow residents from the east side to be able to drive to the west, to park, enjoy the park, and then make the connection from that point to the walking path and the sidewalk and ultimately the trace. So we would, if you're inclined to grant approval this evening, we would ask that that be considered and perhaps be part of any approval that you might grant. And we would certainly reflect that on the revised plans and have it installed at the appropriate time.
Thank you. Commissioner Darty.
Yes, I just want to echo Commissioner Lauren's comments. Seems like the last couple of 3 months, we continually have more and more punch list items that we're having to deal with. And I, for one, don't like that. I think, it's up to the engineers as well as, the legal counsel to be sure that these are down to a minimum and the minor items. It's just seems like it's out of control again. We had it pretty much under control. Now we're back out of control. So, Paul, I'm going to ask your firm, and since you and Jeff represent, I'm going to say the majority of the the clients that we see subdivision requests come from, don't come to us with a 30-item punch list, please.
I would say your points are well taken, understand, respect them, and we'll do our best to comply with exactly what you're asking.
Thank you.
Do I hear any kind of motion? Commissioner Casabon.
Motion to approve with the waivers.
There's a motion to approve by Commissioner Casabon. Is there a second? There's no second. Commissioner Drum.
I make a motion that we do not accept until we get the drawings and this punch list is small.
Is that a postponement?
Commissioner Drum makes a motion to postpone. Commissioner Lauren.
I'll second that motion.
Commissioner Lauren has a seconded motion to postpone. In all fairness, Paul, would you like to respond to that?
I respect the decision of the commission, and we'll be back next month with plats for you to review.
Thank you. There's a motion to postpone by Mr. Lauren, I believe, or was it Mr. Drum? With a second to Mr. Lauren. Please vote.
Motion carries.
Okay, let's see. Now
What we got?
983, right? Yeah. 2018-983 PP Preston Vineyards, Ward 1, District 3, developer owner, First Horizon, engineer McLynn Taylor, Parish Council District Representative, the Honorable James Thompson. Staff?
Preliminary plans and hydrologic study have been reviewed by this office and an inspection of the site was made. It's recommended that the preliminary submittal be approved. No maintenance obligation is required since this project fronts on Highway 190. Mandatory developmental fees will be required at final submittal in accordance with ordinance 499, I should say 125, since no public hearing was held prior to January 1st, 2005. The developer is hereby advised that upon application for final subdivision approval, the engineer of record for this development shall certify in writing that all aspects of construction have been completed in accordance with the approved plans and parish ordinances. If any construction activity is proposed that's not within substantial compliance with the approved plans or ordinances, the engineer of record for the development shall notify in writing the Department of Development prior to beginning said construction activity. The developer and/or the engineer of record shall obtain written approval from the Department of Development Engineering prior to beginning any proposed construction activity that is not in substantial compliance with the approved plans and parish ordinances. Revised plans will not be accepted prior to the April 10, 2018 Planning Commission meeting to ensure that any additional comments at the meeting can be incorporated into the revised plans.
Paul?
Thank you. Paul Marone again on behalf of First Horizon, Inc. And I think if you take a look at this staff report, this one might be a bit more to your liking since there are no comments whatsoever on it. So how quick of a response was that for you, Mr. Daugherty? This is a project that actually had received preliminary once before. It had expired. You'll recall we had a problem with the legal description on the property, which we had to correct. That has now been corrected. The plans are in order, and we would respectfully request your approval this evening.
Thank you. Anyone in the information? If not, please vote.
Motion carries.
Okay, I think we can go back to old business because there is no final subdivision review, no amendments to the Chapter 125 subdivision regulations. And under old business, we have Hidden Creek Phase 1A and 1B, Ward 1, District 3, developer owner Hidden Creek LLC, engineer is Meyer Engineering, Parish Council District Representative is the Honorable James Thomas. Staff?
Hey, Mr. Chairman, please be advised that the developer of Hidden Creek subdivision has requested an amendment to the final subdivision survey plat through an act of correction in order to correct an inconsistency on said plat that depicts the main street, Popular Creek Court, that leads into this development, which is in the wrong location. Approval of the act of correction would correct this error in the location of the roadway, as well as adjust the green space on each side of same in order to accommodate the proposed pool and pool house. If you look at the attached drawing, it shows you the actual correct location of the roadway. The staff has no objections. Jay, do you want to read your letter?
Engineering staff has no objections to this request. The servitude, we feel, needs to be moved to match where the road was actually built, or not the servitude, the right-of-way, actually. So we're in favor of this request.
Okay. Anybody from Hidden Creek LLC to talk on this matter?
I'm Jerome Crentel with Access Construction Management Services. I'm here to represent Hidden Creek LLC. As Mr. Mistich stated in his letter, we moved the road to avoid the removal of 2 live oak trees.
Okay.
And so, in good faith, we wanted to preserve those.
Well, thank you. Anyone in the audience would like to speak in favor of this old business or against? If not, I bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Willie.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Willie. Commissioner Randolph. Second by Commissioner Randolph. Commissioner Lauren.
I would like to express our appreciation for you doing what you did. We like to keep these big oak trees.
Excellent. With that, please vote.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Cinchuba Square 11, lots 36A, 39A, Ward 4, District 5. Developer owner Buddy Coate. Engineer Kelly McHugh and Associates. Parish Council District Representative, the Honorable Mr. Toledano. Staff?
Honorable Commissioners, the above caption act of correction was reviewed by the Department of Development Engineering. No objections offered. Therefore, we recommend that the act of correction be approved.
Thank you. Is the developer owner here?
Good evening. I'll be brief since I think I'm the last agenda item today. Yeah, we were just asking for an act of correction. Yeah, which is, they've been working with Jay and Kelly's office to add I had a plat recorded in 2015 on some re-subdivision of the lots that you have a copy of in your packet. I think it's the last 3 pages. We're adding a 20-foot drainage and utility servitude across the front of lots 36A and 39A. And that servitude was needed, but not on the plat, so we needed to correct that. If y'all recall, we did requested opening 10th Street and needed this to, and just, you know, needed to get it on the plat. So that's all we're doing.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Does anybody in the public want to speak for this old business or against? If not, I bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Randolph.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Randolph. Commissioner Fitzmaurice.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Fitzmaurice. Please vote.
Motion carries.
Any new business? Motion to adjourn?
Mr. Chairman?
Oh,
Mr. Chairman?
got a
I do have a new business item.
Sorry.
I'd like to make a couple of comments. Some of you may be aware of that I am going to be retiring pretty soon from the parish. Some of you maybe don't. But I wanted to advise you that it's coming close, and so it's time to pass the baton. So Kara Bartholomew is going to take over my spot representing the planning department starting next month. I want to let the commission know that it's been a great honor and a privilege serving you. I really appreciate your working with us. And also, it's been a great privilege working for the citizens of St. Tammany Parish. Thank you all very much.
Well, thank you, Ron. And it's been a privilege to work with you as well. Thank you. How many?
37.
Wow, 37.
Time to move on.
On that note, with 37 years, I got a motion to adjourn? Motion to adjourn.